Somebody explained it to me where. I didn't even realize.
Huh?
Is the Facebook one started?
It already started.
I can't tell. It looks like it says live video is starting. Oh well, looks slow. I know YouTube has that.
Yeah.
Wish I could edit
can't
that.
wait to get my hair done tomorrow.
Congratulations. I know Mom can't wait either.
Yeah, she already said something.
As soon as you walk in.
Yeah.
She always comments.
Welcome to another episode of Above Average Black Men. You got yours truly, Chris Bender Sr.
Chris Jr. is always here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community.
Devin Pender here to say like, follow, subscribe, share, comment. I showed some more energy with
I saw that. I said,
like,
you really went up on that comment.
He uses outside voice too.
I know today it's going to be somewhat almost like a throwback. I even hate to say it, but like if you watch the original videos, start out with 4 of us. Mm-hmm. And one of those guys, he's a comedian. He's been just steadily climbing up the ladder here. My guy Justin Lamar is in the building and will be joining us. I wish we had the sound clap. There we go. Thank you.
I'm Justin Lamar, Black and passionately late.
Yeah.
What's up, my brothers?
What's up, man?
Good to see you.
Good to have you back, man. Yeah. Definitely has been a while.
Peoples.
Yes, man.
So, real quick, tell the people, what have you been up to?
Wow. A lot of stand-up comedy, a lot of dad work, a lot of internal work. I know what the subject is today. I talked to Chris, even when I'm not on the show. And we've been talking about doing that internal work. We've been doing some hooping. We went 3-0 in LA Fitness the other day. We still got it.
So y'all getting ready for the 3-on-3?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we are getting ready.
Because New York is selling wolf tickets. They coming to win it.
Really?
Who is?
New York. People from New York.
So I got to register. Y'all gonna do whatever. Well, we can talk about that later. Yo, so we here live in the studio again, man. We got Justin here. I got to say this. Justin gave us the black man invite. He's like, yo, y'all got room for me? Yeah, where you at? I'm right outside.
yeah, I know.
That's how we invite ourselves back in the day to barbecues, man. You see all the cars in there. Yo, what you doing? No, yo, what you doing? You waiting for me to say nothing. Like, man, I'm out front. I see like 10 cars on the drive.
I cut my dreads. I didn't really want to be around y'all anymore. That's what happened. OG got dreads. He got braids now. What's your problem? I came back for one reason. I watched the episode. And I skipped through 5 times, and you was talking every time. You let these boys talk. That's the only reason I came back.
I'm about to mute this button right now. But anyway, tonight's topic is the power of negativity.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is there's a lot of people who don't understand or underestimate the power of how they think. And there's people who just don't see themselves as being valuable. They got low self-worth. We talk about this. There's people who won't go certain places because they believe they don't belong.
Yeah.
And I try to tell young people all the time, the way you see yourself, the way you think, man, go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. For instance, you can't put a lot of negative stuff in your head and you have all these positive thoughts. When I talk to men, they say the same thing. So I want to talk about that, man. So what do you think about that? I mean, how does people let negative thoughts just take over and dictate their whole lives?
I mean, it's a thing that I feel like it can easily happen to anyone. I think some people don't even necessarily probably realize in some cases that they are thinking negatively. In some cases, just that's the way they were brought up, like people around them have that same type of mindset. And it's almost a way of life for some people to just kind of look at things in such a negative way, like look like there's either no hope. Sometimes they look at things where they don't have a chance in some cases. Mm-hmm. And there's people around them that kind of feed that into them. I know probably from a personal perspective, just any time that you're trying something new for the first time, like especially when I got into writing, I wasn't too sure of that thing. It was easy for me for negative thoughts to pop into my head at times, like, why am I even doing this? Like writing, like, man, I didn't take classes on this. Like, man, what makes me think that I could actually write a script? But it was me getting in my own way. It took a while for me to realize that the only thing really stopping you from trying anything or perfecting anything or getting better at it is really yourself. And I know for me, sometimes it's really that fear of failure where, that negative talk, it really pops into my head at times.
And like when it comes to negative thoughts and different things like that, I feel like it's a snowball effect. When I say that, I mean like, one small, negative thought, and then it trickles down to a couple more negative thoughts. Like, for example, I remember a time, like when I first graduated college, I feel like I went through a little depression period just because I felt like, I'm not saying I was the man in college, but I knew a lot of people.
So what I'm saying is,
I ain't saying I was the man, but I was
him.
I was definitely him.
My name ain't
Him Douglas, okay.
But when you get home and all that stuff is gone,
oh yeah,
you're kind of like you're stuck. Like, oh, what's going on? Why is it not like this when I'm home? Like, oh, I don't got people I'm seeing every day, and it starts a snowball effect to you, fall in a little funk. And like you said, like you're trying something new. At that point, it's like a whole new world when you're back at home after you had freedom for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that definitely went through some of that too. Like I know Justin and I, we played basketball in college, and it was the same thing. Like you go to school, like you playing basketball every day. Like people around campus know who you are.
Yeah.
You just used to things somewhat being kind of easy in a way, but then you come home and it's just like nobody cares about what you did. It's like you got to restart over again. Like you might get with some of your friends from high school, that are in college, but in some of them cases, you find that you may have grown apart so much, that you don't even find, the same interest anymore. So definitely been in that lane too. I feel what you're saying on that. But it's just like you, at the end of the day, had to try to realize, I'm sure you did. You realized at some point where, you bigger than that. You in your own mind. Like things are going to come. Things are going to be difficult. And you can just flip your mindset, get through that stuff. Okay.
So how do you I'm around people all the time, so I'm having this conversation all the time. It doesn't matter, I was just talking to a 7-year-old girl the other day, and she's kind of big for age. She's 9, but she's big. She's tall, not fat. She's just big, and she's dark. Nice looking little girl, but she's big, and she, kids are cruel. When you dark and you bigger than everybody else, you become the target.
Yeah. I ain't been bigger than everybody. I've been dark.
Yeah. So you still get that.
So she was writing, they were doing this thing describing themselves, and she was saying that she felt worthless. And that's a 9.
Ooh, man.
Like, you feel worthless, people make fun of you, you don't know why you're here. And see, the thing about her is if you don't deal with that now, she's going to go through life hiding that. And then eventually she's going to get married. And that comes out in your relationship.
Right.
And that's what you don't understand. That's like the unhidden stuff that you got to deal with. When, you, for instance, you may be joking and say, man, that was stupid. And they go off. Well, you call them stupid, because they have this issue that they've been dealing with that you don't know. So I think that's how powerful it is. I've known people who are very smart people, but because somebody called them dumb for a long period of time, they just stopped trying.
Yeah.
They just gave up. I know even in sports, and this as an athlete, the minute you doubt yourself, you toast. If you can't forget that mistake, that missed shot, that missed whatever you
can fall apart.
Yeah. But if you take that in life, there's people walk around every day, man, who smile, but they're struggling because, they just, like you said, they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, again, one point that I brought up is if you brought up like that, you're raised like that, where that's just kind of your surroundings, it's like, I guess a question to you all is like, what are ways that you can kind of, I guess, get out of that negative state of mind?
Well, first of all, I feel like Mr. Pender was attacking me personally when he said people walk around smiling.
He said, first off,
I feel attacked over here. Look, your sons are separated. Nah. I want to speak to that, like, because environment is so important. I started listening to James Clear's Atomic Habits. Shout out to one of y'all who recommended that. I know one of y'all, at least one of y'all recommended that. But it talks about how, like, your identity forms your habits, right?
Yeah.
And I know we're talking about like negative thinking and thoughts, but habits starting with a thought.
Good.
I'm gonna go smoke this. I'm gonna go shoot that, or and that's negative thinking.
Yeah.
Instead of I'm gonna go read this, or I'm gonna go do something positive, whatever it is. So the environment that you put yourself in constantly is so important. Like that's what I'm thinking. Like one of the reasons that me and Chris have been so close through the years, because I feel like we always tried to put ourselves around people that are doing better.
Mm-hmm.
And like I still, when I started the comedy, Chris wanted to do the comedy, and Chris did the comedy.
Yeah.
Chris did the writing. Now I want to do the writing because we're trying to continue to push each other. I mean, it started with basketball. That was the thing that brought us to.
But you couldn't check me in that either, but yeah.
I could get you. I got it. I got it. But no, it's you. I love the competitiveness.
Yeah.
I was just listening to J.R. Ryder today talk about Kobe and how like Kobe just wouldn't leave him alone.
Yeah.
Because he just wanted to see where his game was compared to somebody that was, and you talk about supreme confidence, and the opposite of negative thinking.
Yeah.
A good basketball player got the ultimate positive.
What's up with that one-on-one, man?
Yeah.
But it's funny because the world knows that. The world knows how to manipulate, how to move people in a certain way, whether it's marketing, whether it's another form of marketing, billboards in a certain neighborhood, they know how to depict people in a certain way, and it impacts them generationally, or it impacts a whole ethnic group of people. I'll give you the perfect example. We were talking about this yesterday. Let me back up. I was with a group of kids today in high school, and we got into this deep discussion about why people are racist, and why some of the racist people they meet are racist without a basis. They just form this opinion. So I was explaining to them stereotypes. I was explaining the power of images, how, a lot of people they purposely advertise us a certain way. So when people see you, when they see a guy with an earring or whatever, they'll automatically go to that picture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never a nice guy. It's always the thug, the guy who's robbing somebody. If they see a guy in braids, they always make sure they depict a negative picture of that. When you get a black athlete gets in trouble, they find the worst photo they can find to put out there.
Yeah.
He can have 10 million pictures of being in the suit and tie. They'll find something we just woke up in the morning. However, but contrary, if you flip it around and it's a Caucasian athlete, that's not the picture you get. They won't show you the picture on first thing, wake up in the morning looking all scruffy and everything. Yeah. They don't go there because the images are powerful. And I think we don't realize how powerful images are. And if you see, something negative all the time, you're fed that all the time.
I mean, it's funny that you're saying that because immediately, we social media is right there on your phone. It's the Instagram, the TikTok, Facebook. I guess people still using that, but
So come on, man.
But that's what people don't. But that's what people don't understand. Even I go a step further in relationships. It's like, and I use this analogy all the time. I got a Volkswagen. I got 10 suitcases. Your mom got 10 suitcases. 20 suitcases not fitting the Volkswagen. You start throwing stuff out. Then you start unpacking those bags, man, and some of the stuff in the back you just don't know. But a lot of it is, to Justin's point, the previous environment or the way that person was raised. That's the part that you don't see when you bring that into a relationship. So if your mother told you all light-skinned women act a certain way, the first time she started acting like that, that's your reference point.
Yeah, my mom used to talk trash about the people acting. I'm here. No, but do y'all remember when, I don't know if you remember, I know this was with your generation, but definitely with me and Chris growing up, maybe it went to them. But do y'all remember when it was cool to be dumb?
Yeah.
Do y'all remember that?
Yeah. My wife and kids, they made a big thing out of it. The son was an idiot.
It was just cool to be dumb. And I feel like that's a part of negative thinking. So thinking that being smart is some way
not
white.
Cool, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I think I'm trying to think about like where that came from. Like, why was it cool to be like, oh no, no. Well, I mean, like it was cool. That was popular.
Yeah.
Like, so people was hiding how smart they was because they didn't want to seem like a nerd. And I know there's come a time now where I feel like actually being a nerd is cool.
Well, I'm gonna go back to what Chris says. it's been like that for ages. Social media just made you more aware of it.
Nah, this was pre-social media.
But I'm just saying, social media made it more aware of it now because when I was growing up, it was this. When I was growing up, it was the same thing. You're acting white. That was put out there. Yeah. You're educated. You're acting white. You're trying to go to college. You're acting white. Yeah. Because you're not speaking Ebonics. You're acting white. So it's been there now because of the awareness is higher now, and now because of TV, like My Wife and Kids. So you see shows now where not like the Cosby's. Every black father on TV, something is wrong with him. Mm-hmm. The family has some kind of issue. Yeah. So you feed that to somebody long enough, just like single family homes. Single family homes didn't just hit the scene, man. They were single when I was growing up. Yeah, now all of a sudden, all these statistics come out saying how crazy it is. I'm like, wait a minute. I grew up with a bunch. I was the only one who had a mom and dad. My inner circle. Right? Yeah. So what happens though? Somebody turns around and says, "Okay, I want to make a big deal out of it," and now you have access to everything. So now everybody's blaming everything on single family homes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think the media or social media plays a large role, but then we perpetuate that. We run with it. We run with it because now, who Justin think he is?
It's sometimes to the point. It's almost easy that the negative stuff is easy to people to kind of fall into and just grow with. Like I think it shows in kind of again like the news and the media. Nobody's watching like the positive stuff, and like the negative things. It seeps into people. Like you said, single family.
We might have to talk about Kanye next episode.
Kanye,
that's gonna get 1 billion views.
But that's it. But he figured out. People like him figured out. I can become famous doing it. I can stay relevant, being crazy, saying crazy stuff. I can be, like I was. For example, I was talking to the kids today. For example, talking to the kids today. Brett Favre and the governor of that state ripped off millions of welfare people to build a new building, but yet you want to roast Kyrie Irving because he said the world is flat, or because he gave his opinion about a movie. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's a movie critic. It's not like but yet you ready to roast him and run him up a flagpole. Blacks too, but nobody's talking about what Brett Favre did
with Kyrie. Yeah. I think it was a combination of things with Kyrie. I agree with you 100% when I feel like it was the whole what's that movie? What's it called?
I don't even know the name of the movie.
I bought it. I bought it because I'm watching it. It was trash. It was trash. I don't know why Kyrie believed it. It was like spelling mistakes in the first 3 minutes. This is not legit.
Because it's what you think. Because how you think. If you dying to believe in that narrative, if you dying to believe in something, it doesn't take much to push you over that side.
Here's what I was going to say about Kyrie. I think Kyrie kind of got some of that a little bit extra because he wasn't showing up for work.
Yeah,
what I mean. He can't take games off, so like people almost want to have
something else to throw.
Yeah, like man, I told you this dude was no good.
Yeah, but again. You got people reacting off of what they saw or what was presented to them, not the truth. Yeah. Because they got a negative opinion of him, even athletes, so they just started piling on him.
It was Hebrews to Negroes.
Yeah. So we did. We talked about it on the show. But I just think, so again, it was an image that the media painted of Kyrie Irving. Yeah. That so people who didn't know just jumped on it.
Mm-hmm. All right. I want to take, since we talking about basketball and negative thinking, Ben Simmons.
I knew he was going to say that.
The promised example.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How you been that good your whole life? You go from all-star to not being able to being third-string center?
Yeah.
An all-star point guard to third-string center? We've never seen that.
But I can tell you why. But I can tell you why. Because he's a 16-year-old kid posted this, and I was cracking up about Ben Simmons when he's having a problem with the Sixers. The 16-year-old kid said, I'm going to tell you what Ben Simmons' problem is. He's been in AAU and suburbs all his life. He ain't been nowhere with nobody challenged him. He ain't been in the schoolyard where somebody got in his grill, and says, everywhere he goes, it's Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
It's Ben. Ooh, like if he showed up on the court, you guys would give him everything you have. He's used to going to places where everybody, ooh, that's Ben Simmons. So I think
he's not used to the negative people saying negative
but that's things. Because if you never challenged, nobody said anything negative.
Because he was the best on Bird.
But I'm the best.
Yeah, but if nobody's challenging you, and all of a sudden people start challenging you, and that's you have to have a mentality to take it.
Yeah.
Like I laugh and joke.
Take positive affirmations about yourself.
Yeah,
Nah,
and if you've never had to do that before, and all of a sudden, to your point, that's a long fall.
you got to do it on the biggest stage.
But that's a long fall all of a sudden, man. When you
Huge.
go from potential, you supposed to be next to LeBron James, and then
Next
you're
to
third.
LeBron
They talk
James.
about your career's over and all this stuff. So, but
Buying
again,
him
his
out.
mentality. His mentality. Dude. I love you brought up Kobe because I wasn't a huge Kobe fan when he was playing, but I became a huge fan because I've been watching, listening to the stuff he says. You know, it was mentality with him.
Yeah.
It wasn't just skill.
Mhm.
It was like he tore you up mentally.
Yeah.
You know, you hear these guys tell the story, man. Like, you know, like they tell the story was he was like the second year with the Lakers. And all the guys like, yo, let's go hang out. And he's okay. I'll make a deal with you. You know, I'll go hang out with you,
Mhm.
but tomorrow you got to hang out with me.
Mhm.
So they went out and they stayed until like 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
They come back, go to sleep, man. You know, he goes out, scores like 40 points. Don't do that. Don't put the work in.
Like
Kobe,
Carmelo
yeah.
Anthony and that.
everybody tells you, but
That's too early.
everybody tells you stories about
They
where
said they want me to come off the bench, big.
like, everybody will tell you stories about don't trash talk Kobe Bryant
Yeah.
but then you got some people you
Because you already
trash,
had that conversation.
and he was never the physical guy. Okay, you trash talk, I'm gonna knock you out. He was okay. I'm gonna show you. So I think that's the mental mentality that people don't have. You know, he never saw himself as being anything but a winner. You know, and if you look at it, there's a lot of people, man, who I encounter. You know, we're doing this thing now called I'm into this thing now called restorative practices, restorative circles, and basically the concept is, you know, conflict resolution in schools, help people get restored to the community, teach them about community, you know, avoid conflict, a lot of different things. You know, and you know me, I'm the analytical one. So I love the principle, but my question to them was when I'm in a room with a bunch of people going, you know, like, hey, you know, how can you restore somebody to something they never was? So how do you take a kid and say, I got you in the restored, I'm trying to bring you back, but I never had self-confidence?
You really got to program yourself. I had to do a lot of unprogramming.
Yeah.
You know, my parents did a great job, so there's no knock on them. But there were certain things that I had to unprogram in myself to, you know, because once I got by myself and I had to pick myself up my own mess.
Yeah. But
you better have some positive stuff going through your head.
sometimes as a parent, you do your kids a disservice. You know, and I talk a lot about this when I'm in my groups of men because you try to give your kids everything you didn't have. And, you know, and you mean well. But at the end of the day, you know, those things you went through, like I think of the struggles and stuff that I went through made me who I am.
Yeah.
So when you try to give them everything, you take that edge away. Mm-hmm. Like Chris, you know, I was always honest with my kids, man. You ain't going to the NBA like that. I was never the guy sitting in the stands talking about, oh, you going to Duke, you going to Kentucky? Nah, you know, you got to put some work in. You know, because my pop was worse.
But should you?
That was nice though.
Yeah.
You ever think that?
Yeah, I should have because I mean I wasn't brutal. I didn't say, yo, you suck. But I think you know I learned that because I've been in an environment where everybody's blowing smoke up your butt.
Yeah.
Everybody's telling you, oh, you. So the problem is you when you think like that, unless you're an exceptional individual like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, you don't work as hard because in your mind, yo, these dudes, I got these dudes. So I think, and again, how you think because you're hearing
take the other approach of like, I know you like that's like the grounded in reality thing, you know. But what if you like, you can say, hey, you can go to the NBA, chances are slim, but
it's like if you want to go to
that's
NBA,
what I
this
said.
is what it takes. If you want to go to NBA,
that's what I said. That's what I said.
You gotta wake up.
I just said it differently.
You gotta wake up at 6 a.m.
I just said it differently.
I mean, not that I said I'm like, yo, I wish I would have been in the NBA.
No,
just the example of just because the framing it differently, just thinking positively, you know, like not closing the window for. Let them give some hope and crush his dreams at a later point.
Because my papa said the same thing to me, right? Like I never believed I was going to a certain level of basketball, right? And I sometimes wonder if that was to my and his detriment. Like maybe, like all right, no, you're not D1 right now, but if you do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, you can be or you will be. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like. And if that kid don't do that, it's like you don't want it. Like you could have did it, but you don't want it because you're not putting in a certain amount of hours, work, repetitions.
Both sides,
but it's how you see yourself. It all comes back to how you see yourself. There's people who told me, I couldn't do something. So to me, that was a challenge. Mm-hmm. To me, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to prove you wrong. Yeah. Don't tell me because now we got a problem. Yeah. Because I'm, that's how I've always been built like that. Mm-hmm. I love my dad to death, God rest his soul. My father wasn't like the cheerleader kind of dude. Yeah. I remember playing ball, man, and I make a great catch, I make a great basket. He looked at me like, well, act like you did it before. Like, yo, everybody was going crazy. Like, well, ain't that part of the game?
You're hate today.
Ain't that part? I'm like, yo, I remember he was coaching me, man, and I was putting in work, man. I'm come over, everybody pat me on the back, man. He said, he pulled me, he said, what you supposed to do? Yeah. So I think, and so he was different. I wasn't like that. I encouraged my kids, but I also understood because I saw athletes who had talent, and I'm not going to name names who you knew, who never got better because people blew smoke up their butt the whole time. So they thought they were this great athlete. Mm-hmm. I don't have to get better. The problem with it was you were the great athlete in the 6th grade. Now you're on the 12th grade. Mm-hmm. Now you're getting smoked by those same dudes who you were smoking. So I think, how you think is so powerful. It's like if I'll see a woman who maybe is not that attractive, but she conducts herself in such a way, man, like, wow. Yeah. And then you'll see somebody, like today, I'm watching the supermarket.
Work for everybody.
No, but I'm serious. The way you carry yourself, the way you see yourself, people will see positive stuff in you.
Right.
Like what I tell you when you walk in like you own the joint.
Like I'm supposed to be everywhere.
Like if you walk in the room and we do, like when I was playing in school, one of the biggest things I used to do was I used to go on the court and I look the guy in the eye. See, now somebody slapped you. They hit you. Back then it wasn't like that. You could like go look somebody in the eye. And if he looked away, it was over. If he didn't look me back, the first play of the game, I'm going to waste a foul. Because the first time he get the ball, I'm going to hammer him.
80s basketball.
I'm going to hammer him because he going to be like, yo, but he going to think about it. But I know he going to think about it. But if the guy look me back in the eye, Chris, I say myself, Chris is going to be a long day. but because people, the way you think, man, the way you see yourself is so powerful. And I think people don't, people, people don't understand the power of negativity. Mm-hmm. When you think of negative, man, it can kill relationships, it can kill business deals, it can kill self-esteem. Yeah. There's so many things what negativity can do, and the world knows it. So the world would typically, like, they'll get a neighborhood, and it could be 10 positive people in a neighborhood. But you know how you get your property value? You show the 4 knuckleheads. Mm-hmm. And people automatically think, oh, that's the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So negativity, it sells and it controls the world. If you look at politicians, they know what to say to get people moved because they understand. Positive stuff don't fly. Positive is hard.
It's because how do you escape it though? Because it's like I was just thinking about it. Really is literally everywhere. It sells. Like if you even look at YouTube and you can look at the names and titles of things and like
perfect example.
Either negative or salacious. Thing is you said the salacious articles on Snapchat about NBA players and who they get with. That's my favorite thing. That's my favorite.
Well, seeing you addicted to it. Seeing you addicted to it.
Yeah, John Moran hitting that.
So it's like
John Moran stole Drake, girl.
Like but that stuff, it gets in your head though.
Yeah, for sure.
When you watch stuff like that, and then next thing you know, I'm not saying you. Next thing you know,
you can say me.
No, I'm just saying because people watch all that stuff, and now I don't trust my girlfriend. Now I don't trust my boyfriend because I'm watching this stuff now. Yeah, so now in your mind, like where's she going when she get mad? Yo, that long time at the hair salon. The hair come back looking the same way. All this stuff is going. So when you look at that stuff, it gets into your head. Where you can tell me or don't, but if you get into long enough conversation, it starts to seep into your head. It's like it's like people with anger management. You can't be you got anger management issues. You can't be watching Friday the 13th and all these crazy movies because that gets in your head and you begin to respond to it. Mm-hmm. I cursed so much when I was growing up because. I love Red Fox, Richard Pryor, and Eddie Murphy, but that was the comedian back in the day. That they didn't. Any story they told was going to be covered with that kind of language, and everybody laughed. I mean, people would laugh. So that gets in your head, and that you begin to communicate like that. Rap music is doing it to a lot of these young kids now. Right. They watch it, so they begin to emulate it. Yeah, and the problem with it is they know that. They know they
And
make
that's
them
what I
money.
was actually just thinking
That's a
about
good
too.
point.
It's like somebody knows this, like
'Cause it
powers that
sells.
be, like even just thinking about again. I keep talking about social media because I feel like that's of the age for us. Like we were just saying how them videos that you see where it's always like, oh, this man was cheating or this woman was cheating. Like it's literally all you ever see. It's man versus woman all the time.
Yeah.
I've literally had an argument with my wife, right? And then logged onto my social media and said, "Your wife is going to leave. Don't be left in the dust. Get this program right now."
No, but see,
Yo,
but it does.
I swear, I'm not exaggerating.
But but that's fact. Or how you think they sell material things? Because you know what? You having trouble. You having trouble getting the girl. Yo, buy these clothes. You buy these clothes, man, and all of a sudden it's going to change. People go out and spend it. It's like when I was growing up. Billy D. Williams used to do the Coke 45 commercials. Coke 45 malt liquor, which is probably the beer equivalent of the worst alcohol you could possibly buy. Think of the name Coke 45. And people used to drink this beer, buy Billy D. Williams and all these pretty women.
Yeah.
And I said, when the last time you been in the bar and you seen a girl look like that? You don't.
Drinking the
Yes.
Coke 45.
I
Be
got
missing
only
a couple
two big
teeth.
enough to put the bottle in. That's what I'm just saying.
But I'm just saying, but people will buy because Billy D. Billy D. Williams drank it. People, he probably just drank on the commercial. But that was a commercial. That was a commercial. So the media, but they know that. So they know people with image problems see that, that's going to work. It's like when I was growing up, people used to go out, they couldn't bounce the basketball, chew gum at the same time. But they had the latest gear on because they somehow they thought that was going to make them play.
I never do it like that.
How you think it's
Can't make a
powerful,
layup.
man? How you think it's powerful? Because when you think you can't do stuff, chances are you won't be able to. If I think I'm bad at something and I fail the first time, a lot of people quit.
Yeah. So what do you? Because I've seen people with this amazing self-belief in themselves that's made them succeed. Like the delusional. How do you say that? Delusionalness that they took through life.
Yeah.
Help them in some circumstances.
But I'm gonna tell you something.
In some circumstances,
there's a secret I'm gonna tell you right now, and I would defy anybody to argue me this point. And I know they will. You constantly fighting against yourself. You're constantly fighting against yourself because it's like I hardly ever get nervous. I've been doing workshops and stuff publicly for so long. I don't get nervous. I had to do this workshop for a group of people on a topic that I knew they all knew, and it was my first time talking about the topic. I psyched myself out. Man, I'm going to go in there and be asking me questions I can't answer, man. So I just felt myself with all this information going there. Man, I was psyching. I was nervous, man, sweating. And, my wife texted me right before and you kind of calmed me down before I went in. You got this. I went in there and I slayed it, But I had psyched myself out before that. But they didn't know that. So people fight against yourself a lot, man. You say, you know what? I'm not going to let anybody know. Yeah. But so when people give that appearance, but you better believe at one time or another, they're fighting against themselves. They just don't show it. They just don't show it.
What's interesting in that story, it just kind of made me think about like fight versus flight,
Yeah.
When you had that negative kind of mindset, like, oh my goodness, you could have easily been up there and kind of, instead of slayed, like kind of failed at it, and just crumbled under the negative self and just kind of lived what you were actually thinking, I think that's another
picture, man.
No, I'm just saying. Just payback for the basketball stuff.
You didn't think about that. Good thing I ain't talked to you before I went.
But no, what I'm saying is like to the point I'm trying to make is like your mind is so much. I think it's so much more powerful than what we give it. Sometimes.
It is.
Because like really like what you believe in can become reality. Like if you keep repeatedly thinking those things. Like we've gotten to a place now. I know Justin, you and I, where it's like I know for myself personally, it took me a while to be like, oh, I'm a writer.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I know it took you a while to be like, actually, like, yo, I'm a comedian. I'm like doing this, and it's just like
when you called me that, it always felt weird.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm Justin.
but like it's like
know how you can tell when you transition? When you kind of, I'm not going to say you have it, is when you no longer feel the need to defend what you do or what you're trying to become.
Yeah.
That's when you know you've made, like when I first started, there's times I've been in the room and I knew I was the best person in the room, and I would get into arguments. I would get into discussions trying to prove it.
Yeah.
Now I was like, yo, I know who I am. I'm looking around the table like, man, I'm going to say what I got to say. You take it or leave it. So you, when you transition to that point, you once you know who you are, it don't matter. So you're not trying to prove it to people. You're not questioning people, and you take the flowers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because guess what? When you screw up, they be beating you with them same flowers. You
who that man?
Yeah. So I think, but that's one thing that and especially in Black families, we don't pass on to our kids because people say, oh, Justin's arrogant. He's uppity. We associate all these names with confidence. Instead of just saying, no, he's not arrogant. He knows who he is.
I'm glad you brought that. You brought that back around, because when you talked about Kanye earlier, I actually think that's what got him to where he is, and almost got him to where he is now.
Right, like got him here,
it goes both ways, right? The same thing that help you can hurt you. But I know with his story is interesting too, because he talked about how his mom instilled confidence in him, and when they told him he couldn't, he did. From fashion deals to music. Rockefeller didn't want him.
Yeah, as a rapper,
that's not the rapper that was popular then. He wasn't selling drugs. You talking about insecurities. That was a different thing to talk about for rap. He really birthed a whole era of rappers.
But what you see now, though, is that inner battle between himself, where sometimes he loses.
Yeah.
So we all have it, and I think some people do. I honestly believe, and
You're too positive.
I think most of us, especially as men, we wear a mask, because we're taught all these things, man. You don't cry. You got to be strong for your family. We taught all this stuff. So we get so used to wearing a mask that we don't allow people to know we got this inner battle. And when you get successful at what you do, nobody knows, because that's what you do. And you look at as the expert, or you look at as God's supposed to do it. They don't know inside you, like, man, what if I bomb, or what if this don't go right? They don't see that part of it. And if you haven't been challenged or tested yourself, you don't understand that part of it, because now they call you weak, or they call you bipolar. All this stuff, about depression is coming out now. People getting, dogging for depression, man. But the reality of it all is, I would defy, if you listen, you let me know. I think every successful person at some time or another, the biggest battle they fight is with self, because you go through it. I don't care who you are, and as an athlete, those times, man, where if you're in the slump, you become your biggest problem.
Yeah.
Because now you're thinking about everything, you worry about missing. When you're on your game, the rim look like the ocean, you rolling.
Chris always used to tell me, take the lid off.
Take the lid off.
Take the lid off.
Once you take the lid off, the ball gotta go in the basket.
And it's funny because that little saying actually makes a big difference, because you have put a mental lid on the basket.
You have.
And when somebody says it in your mind, that's how powerful the mind is. You start the process, you're like, damn, I got.
Right. We just used to say that, be laughing, joking around. Now we making shots.
Then you start making, but it really worked. And you got, like, you working with kids. You got sometimes some kids you have to build their self confidence.
A lot of them,
because they never heard that they was beautiful or smart.
A lot of
or
but it's harder.
It's
harder because they taught that you're not supposed to show that emotion. You're not supposed to let people know that you have those issues. So a lot of people go through life never being, however you want to slice it, treat it, never addressing those issues. And that's why people get in these relationships, and relationships are screwed up. They screwed up their kids, they screwed up relationship because they don't see themselves as having value. Or it's a competition now, because I'm in this relationship and the person I married, we start out here, this person is really excelling. So now it's a competition, because I don't see myself doing that. You deal with this quite often. I mean, whether it's sports or whether it's business, you talk to people and I've met people I was probably the 10th best athlete in my neighborhood. And we debate this because people say I was high or whatever. But me, I always thought, but the funny story was when in my neighborhood I saw that, I thought I was an average player. But when I went to school, started playing other places, I'm killing them. Never thinking in my mind, the competition I was playing against was pretty good. Not that I wasn't that good. I was just playing against guys who were all this, all that, all this. There's guys who I played against, man, like baseball and football. They were setting records at the Penn Relays. but they were smoking me, so I thought I was slow. You know, because I'm chasing those guys, and so you do. So that gets in your mind. That gets in your head.
It's the same environment that built you up that broke you down too. It broke you down because you're like, yeah, you ain't that good. It got me humble. But then when you
Why was that good?
Put your street, I know. You gotta talk about the day. You gotta talk about the heyday. That's what you was talking about when I was scrolling.
No, I'm just saying. No, but
is this your phone, man? Whose phone is this? It's Artifact, man. You know, the S23.
You know, it's not connected.
They got it on and off.
But real quick,
what's
the time in your lives that negative thoughts may have crept in, and how'd you overcome it?
Oh man, I can tell you. When I first became a dad. Man, you excite, you go through all these emotions, man. And I speak for myself, and I think most men, if they admit it. But you never think about that you're actually becoming a dad. You think, I'm having a kid, I'm having a son, you all gonna know. But you never really think about what that means until you see that baby. All of a sudden you see that baby like, man, I'm responsible for another life. You're like, wow. Yeah. It's like, this is what being a dad is. And that was you start to get a little nervous because now if you screw up, see before when you screw up, it was just you.
Yeah.
Now, if I screw up, I'm taking these people with me. And I think a lot of people, don't see that. Another time was when, I've always had these jobs where I was the only person of color. That's always been a thing, man. And the first day it's hard, because everybody's checking you out, man, and you feel like you represent the whole black race.
Yeah,
you do feel like man.
If you do it, all do it.
So those are times that you struggle with it. But those times, and I'll fast forward, like when I had to do that workshop.
Somehow, I could just see the white folks who were like, look how much sugar he puts in this.
No, but you, but everything you do is magnified.
It really
is. Everything you do, because you used to, it's no big deal to you. But everything you do for certain people, that's their first.
Did you take your swag out your walk at work?
Nah, man, they just, I couldn't help it, man. It was like,
No, you have to manage your blackness at work.
Yeah, but certain things you can't manage. Certain things, when you get comfortable, you go back to it. When you get
100% agree.
You may walk around like you got pinching a nut in your butt the first day, but after a while you kind of get comfortable. But I think we all, and some people would never admit it, but we go through those times, man. There was a time when I was in college, man, and it was no time left on the clock, and the gym was full, hundreds of people, man. I got to shoot this free throw. I was scared crapless. And my coach, hey, remember all those times you practiced? They were make-believe people. It wasn't real. He told me, yeah, remember all the times you practiced game with Yeah, there was nobody in the stands. So I'm just saying, and when I was out there, I never felt so alone in my life, man, because that's the first time I ever been in that situation. And I wasn't home. It wasn't like you home with your homies and you look over there and you see people, you go, you look. No, you look at half the stands like, yo, miss it. The other half is like, you better make it. They ain't like, make it. And you like caught in the middle. And, the team don't help because they all stand up holding each other. So that was a tough time. I would never admit it then, anybody watching now, but I was scared crapless, man. I was like, man, and I had to take a step back.
So did you make the free throws?
Of course.
He missed one of them throws. You definitely missed one.
So you gotta read my book. That's in my book. Give me the ball. That's in the book. That's in the book. Give me the ball. It's in the book. Give me the ball. Buy it on Amazon.
Shameless plug.
Give me the ball. They got two of them. So I think we all have that moment in life if we admit it. I don't care how successful you are, man.
I mean, I had a similar one, like in terms of corporate, of course, like going into a space where you feel like it's not a lot of black people, and I feel like I'm fairly young still, and it's just you do get that feeling of all eyes on you, and you do get some doubts of like, man, am I supposed to be here? Am I ready for this? Am I qualified for this? Am I just a token person that's in this place right now? Like, am I really deserving of this? Like, there are some negative.
Am I the diversity high?
Yeah, like it's those thoughts are there. Like, I had that in the corporate world before, but it's kind of reminding myself and staying grounded. Like, yo, you've done the work. Like, you deserve this. Like, other people have seen and realized that work. It's different ways I think of looking at and approaching things. It's very easy to get caught up and like look at it from such that negative approach. Um, because one, I know for me again, that fear of failure is there. So it's just like, once I start thinking about it, it's almost continuous. And to get myself out, I try to like snap and think of all the positive things. And like, again, like, why not have it be me and be good, you know? So definitely had that experience with corporate. And then, you know, maybe sports a little bit. I hate to admit it too. Like, you know, that was there at early starting out, like when probably first around meeting you back in middle school, like I didn't really consider myself to be that much of a basketball player or be that good, you know? Like I even when other people was telling it to me sometimes, I was like, I didn't necessarily feel like that or see it because I felt like there was other people out there that were still better than me, right? So it was like it had to come a point in time where, you know, it started with me, like actually like believing like, all right, man, I made this team for a reason. I'm getting minutes here and doing these things because like, yeah, I actually can do it at this level and continue to climb. I am that good. So it definitely had those moments. I don't think it's like not normal for anybody or everybody to have the negative doubts. It's almost, I want to say, natural kind of to have it. You know?
But I think the problem with it is people act like it's not natural. And when people have those doubts, some people think it's just them. And some people begin to internalize it. So eventually it becomes them. You know, we said this before. There's a scripture that says, as a man thinketh, so is he. You know, and that's so true. And I'll use that in a discussion. And 9 out of 10 times, everybody tell me that's not true. But then after we get going, oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Is, you know, people who get addicted to drugs. You know, after a while, that's how they see themselves. They still, you know, they believe that that's it. You know, this is who I am. You know, no, you made a mistake. You made a bad choice. That's not your identity. You know, there's people who made a mistake in a relationship or somewhere, and they've taken on as their identity. But no, you made a mistake. You made a poor choice. That's not who you are. But what happens is the world starts telling you that's who you are. You know, people you care about start telling you that's who you are. So you believe it. I look at Jalen Hurts. You know, I think he's a perfect example. You know, who I wonder how many people are like him who they said switch from quarterback to running back because you'll never make it, and they did it. You know, the Eagles had a couple guys who won there, you know, who because they refused to fight, you know, or have enough confidence in themselves. You know, how many people folded the tent because the first team they were on didn't want them or felt like you weren't good enough for that team. So you begin to question your own ability. You know, how many people quit on life? You know, because you're in a relationship with somebody and they begin to make you feel inferior and you start buying into it. Wow. You know, there's so many things that we quit at, you know, and we never know how good we can be, you know, because of how we see ourselves. You know, I've struggled a lot of times, but they'll look, nobody outside would ever know. Yeah. No one outside would ever know, you know, because my philosophy is I'm going to win at all costs. You know, and there's other stuff, I'll deal with it. You know, but the minute you start letting that other stuff get to you, you never be the best version of you, whether it's a husband, you know, whether it's a father, whether it's in corporate America, whether it's a comedian, you know, you're never really going to be the best you if every time you go out there, you're thinking about failure. Yeah. If every time you go out there, you think about this, that, because the more you think about it, it becomes your reality and you begin to operate as a failure. Yeah. You cannot think about failing and not become a failure because that begins to dominate your thoughts.
I think something that was kind of made evident tonight was just how your negative thoughts, of course, can be an impact on yourself, but it also impacts people around you.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, your thoughts, you know, could begin to creep out into other people's lives, whether that's, again, in your relationships, your friends, family. Like, I think that's something that is also missing at times where, I don't know, people just think that their negative thoughts only impact them, but it definitely, you know, has an impact on the people around. So do you have particularly any stories or, I guess, any situations in your life where you feel like somebody was negative all the time and like you kind of had to remove yourself? Anybody?
Shit, I feel like I'm the negative person. That's me. Nah, it is. When you talk about becoming a dad, that was real because you get to see your flaws up close because it's affecting other people. And I feel like that's been one of the biggest reasons for my own reprogramming, like self improvement, reading books, working out more, doing little things. Like before I came here, I cooked for everybody. Yeah. That was my role tonight. You know what I'm saying? And like, and how I talk, because they're gonna repeat it.
Yeah,
they will repeat it, positive or negative.
Yeah,
and I, like things that I thought was maybe silly or stupid, I found myself doing, like looking in the mirror, saying positive things to myself with my kids. I should be doing that more, but maybe I shouldn't even say I should be doing that more. I should be happy that I did that and say I'm gonna do it again. Yeah. Something even as simple as that. The language is important. It's crazy. Like even with Chris, like I noticed in our relationship, like if I got more confident, I said you get more confident.
Yeah.
Vice versa. And it was like what you was talking about, Senior, like you can't. It's funny because we want to act like we're alone in these negative thoughts. Yeah. But when you do say it, people use that as vulnerability. That's why you'll never say it out loud. Like, nah.
But I'll tell you a funny story. I ran into a dude. We used to we used to battle all the time. And this was probably one of the only few cats that I used to always get nervous about playing because he could make you look bad. You know how that one dude, man, that he always managed to get you by yourself away from everybody else. Not like you get crossed over in the crowd. You like, yeah. And it's funny. So I ran into him. He said, man, and I told him, I said, you one of the few dudes I played against, man, that I hated playing against. I said, I knew it was a challenge, but I was always afraid that you were going to do something to embarrass me. And he said, I always felt the same way. He said, I hate playing against you. He said, because I knew if I let my guard down, you were going to do something. So you never know what the other person is thinking. True. You sitting there thinking that you're the only one. And a lot of times the person you dealing with is just as bad as you. They just do a better job of hiding it. And I think what happens is you just, whatever you feed grows stronger. That's in my second book. We're going to put how to see it. But whatever I got a copy for you. Want a copy before you go? No, it's about fatherhood. And it's about dads. It's called When Grown Men Play Hide and Seek. And I talk about that. Whatever you feed grows stronger. So if you feed negativity, that becomes a dominant thing in your life. That becomes what you succumb to. But if you feed positive stuff, that becomes a dominant thing in your life. Like I was talking to some other day, and he was telling me how he's going through depression and stuff. And I'm listening in the background. He got like some homicide show playing the back. Dude, you turn that off. If you say you having suicidal thoughts, you shouldn't be watching. Murder whatever the show that come on TV. Yeah, but people. But that's what you feed him. When you feed that, man, it starts to grow stronger. Now all of a sudden this becomes, oh man, so you got to be careful. Yeah. Like people laugh when people play Rocky music before the thing, because it gets people pumped up because people think about Rocky, they think about all the great stuff, and because it's in their mind. Right. That song ain't making you play no better. I was the same way when I put my headphones on before the game, get psyched up, man. That song ain't making me play any better. But I was psyched up to believe. I listened to this song. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go. So I think that's how powerful our minds are. Yeah. So just like negative, you hear people say, I wear this. If I don't have this lucky sock or whatever, there's so many things that we take on, man, and we don't realize that impact our lives. And it all starts with how we think.
And you know what's actually kind of funny to me, just thinking about TV and writing and stuff like that. They know how impactful.
Of course they do,
or how negative something is. Like think about when they put the disclaimers on these shows, where if it shows like suicide or something like that, they know that negativity is like enticing to somebody enough to like maybe they might consider.
Well, I think that's a good question. Why is negativity so enticing to us as people?
Because it's a natural thought process. Because it's
fear.
I don't think nobody comes out the womb thinking they're perfect. I think most people were born.
Oh no, Donald Trump. I feel like.
Nah, he didn't come out. People, but somewhere along the line, people started blowing him up. He's the perfect example of people telling him, and he believes it. He's the perfect example how your mind can, and does. He thinks he's like one of the most brilliant people.
For sure.
He doesn't file bankruptcy, all this stuff, but he sells himself.
He took that positivity to the next level.
He did.
I'm running for president.
It's how you see yourself. I mean, I think people don't realize.
He really did it.
Coming back.
People don't realize how powerful, your mind is. I give you the perfect example. An elephant, when an elephant is a cub, they'll put a chain on him and chain him to the peg that you see him in the circus. And he tries to break it, tries to break it. He can't break it because he's a cub. Now, he does it so much that he just gives up. So when he become an adult, they chain him to that same peg. He can break it as an adult, but he's been trained his whole life that he can't break it. He don't even try anymore. You go to the jungle to get a chair and a whip and see how many lions you stop. You'll beat those. But they do it since they're cubs. They teach them to be afraid of it. So if you continuously teach somebody that they're inferior, they believe they're inferior. If you continue to teach somebody that they're ugly, whatever, they begin to believe it. And we talked about it earlier. If you go back to slavery, you know, how black people was depicted. And then even when Caucasians started to imitate, they put on black faces. So people still saw black people being stupid, being ignorant. They never thought that was a white dude back there. They just associated with being black. So now every time I see a black person, he's ignorant. He's not smart. He's uneducated. Or the opposite. Well, you're different, Justin. You don't act like you know what they mean by you're different. Because they so used to seeing the negativity. It's like when I tell people where I'm from. There's a lot of brilliant, smart, educated people that come from North Philly, but because the news, they look at the news, and I go a step further. This is the perfect example. The white guy who just killed the police officer from out in a rich neighborhood. And I told Deb when they first caught him, I said, Deb, he white. She said, no, why you say that? It was an 18th from Montgomery. I said, Deb, they didn't show his picture. If it was a black guy, once they got him in that police car, bringing him in, his picture would have been up there.
Right.
His picture, I said, Deb, they didn't show his picture. They didn't say his name. They just said well off. Once they said well off,
that means white.
But,
well starts with W too.
But he came down to 18th from Montgomery. So guess what that crime was associated with? 18th from Montgomery.
Right.
And when people hear, they think that. So that's how we taught like that. Even in his mind, I'm going down. They got better cars than Carjack where he live at.
It's kind of crazy because we definitely do it to ourselves.
We do. So how your mind is powerful, man. And people who learn Donald Trump, who learn how to manipulate people. Well, it starts with your kids, man. It starts with, like Justin said, you teach your kids, man, that hey, you got to be confident in who you are. Just like I did with y'all. You teach your kids that you're an individual, man. You're not like everybody else. And you know what? There are going to be times where people are going to always think they're better than you. You got to always know your worth. You got to know your worth, man. Nobody can teach you your worth. The minute somebody starts trying to teach you your worth, somebody else has put a value on who you are. That should never be. Y'all laugh when I tell you how much I charge an hour. But that's my worth. Take it or leave it.
Don't laugh.
Take it or leave it, man. And I had to establish that.
Some context behind that.
I had to establish it.
Like, what are you doing? My day's a jiggle.
I told some other day.
I'm working.
I told somebody the other day, man. My rate. If you want to hire me, my rate is $150 to $450 an hour. That's
to
it.
do what? Speak. You better clarify.
See what I mean? That's my point. See, that's my hour. That's my work. If you want me to come and do a training or something like that, you get your money's worth, but that's my range.
150 to $200 an hour?
150 to $450 an hour. That's my range.
That's my rate too. You're
And people look at you. But there was a time when I didn't believe it. There was a time when I thought, like, yo, man, I got to go in here and I got to charge $45, $50 an hour, man. And and I would go in and like, yo, and I'm not saying this in a braggadocious way, but yo, I'm better than dude.
Yeah.
I'm better than her.
But you got to start
somewhere. So I had to learn my own value because it wasn't until I started asking for myself that I started getting it. Nobody's going to come to you and say, Justin. Very seldom somebody gonna come to you and say, "Yo, this is what they gonna because they trying to save money too."
Yeah,
I told you this the other day. Most managerial jobs in corporate America, somebody gets a bonus for the money they save. Mm-hmm. Somebody gets paid extra by not giving you money, by giving you a smaller rate. So therefore, but is that the person you allow put a value on you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was just thinking, do you think it's like a balance to some of the negative thinking though too?
Yeah, it is. First of all, you got to believe in yourself.
Of course.
Like when you play basketball, when you miss a shot, you ain't stop shooting for the rest of the game. So you remember the time
maybe you should stop shooting. Maybe some guys should stop shooting.
that's what I was actually just getting. That's the point I was just
anymore.
But if you can't shoot, somebody watches. Somebody watches. Know what I'm about to say. My philosophy was, yo, I'm shooting to get hot.
Shoot to get hot, shoot to stay hot.
Now I'm not going to
get real hot on the bench.
But I'm not going to jack it up every time down the floor. But if I got a good shot, I'm taking it.
But you know what I'm talking about.
But we're just saying, not somebody that's not even a shooter. You got to take
I had a guy on my team like that.
That's what we're saying.
And he used to come to the bench all the time and say, "I'm open." So I don't know, the coach must have been having a bad day or something. He said, man, you open because everybody in the league know you can't shoot but you.
And that's what I'm saying, but he ain't know that.
He ain't know that. He wasn't aware.
He knew, but
Sure.
this is when you said it worked opposite. He believes I'm all that.
Mm-hmm. But maybe that didn't serve him in basketball, but maybe that served him as a businessman later.
It probably did.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
or it could get you.
I wasn't mad at
basketball.
I wasn't mad at him. I wasn't mad at him because I think that's the problem, man. We allow other people to determine our value without even fighting back or pushing back. We allow somebody to tell us you're never going to play here. You're not good enough to do this. So instead of us looking like Jalen Hurts did, like you did, to go somewhere else where you know you're going to play, you know your value, we sit on the end of the bench and mope and cry and moan and groan.
Right.
I'm better than him. I'm better. We never do nothing. That's like if I meet somebody and you complain about the job, how long you've been there, 20 years. I don't want to hear it. Mm-hmm. If you've been somewhere 20 years, you stay right where you are. Mm-hmm. Because in their mindset, I'm complaining, but I'm not going to get anything better than this because I don't see the value in myself. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. Girls, little these girls get swept off their feet because they don't see the value in themselves. And the first pretty Ricky that comes along with a cheese biscuit from Red Lobster and say you pretty.
Very specific.
But they say you pretty, they fall for it because they don't know their value. So now all of a sudden here comes Justin or Devin or Chris. They value me. You don't really value them, but they're not used to it. Mm-hmm. So I think you have to know your value. And I think that's the problem. You got to teach your kids know your value. Don't let somebody come along and tell you you're worthless, you're not this, you're not that. Know your value. And I think that's where it starts at. You got to I tell these kids all the time, I pull a 9-year-old girl and say, hey, you got to know your value. Don't let other kids say, you know what? I said, they talk about you because they notice you. She said, really? I said, yeah, that's how you got to look at it. Mm-hmm. If they didn't notice you, they wouldn't talk about you. Mm-hmm. So you have to begin to build people up because society's going to tear them down because they're going to look at statistics. 1 out of 3 y'all will go to jail. 1 of y'all will get pricked. That's what they're going to hear consistently. Consistently getting beat up by teachers, by people who shouldn't be administrators is what they hear on a regular basis. Now, if you go home and your parent doing the same thing, what's wrong with you, boy? You dumb, you stupid, you deaf. That becomes your reality.
That's actually another thing, interesting thing. Like you said, 1 out of 3 go to prison. Why don't we say 2 out of 3 are going to do the positive side?
Right,
because I can't control the narrative.
It's like, again, that intention of framing it in such a negative way.
Purpose.
Where it's like, man, that's how you have to think,
Well, you just said it. How many people walked up to you and said, Justin, you could be the 1 out of X amount of people to be a comedian? No, but everybody tell you how many people don't make it.
Right.
Yeah, nobody says, well, hey, and this is for people supposed to be supporting you.
Right. Like, fortunate for me, I had a whole bunch of people who believe in me around me, but it definitely started with me, showing it first. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But it wasn't hard for them to see, like, oh he got it.
But you got to have that dog in you, and a lot of people don't have it. You got to have that. You got to have it, man. Seriously, you got to have that thing. Man.
But I still struggle with it to this day.
But it's okay because But that's what keeps you hungry. That should keep you hungry. That should keep you fighting. Mm-hmm. I say this: if I ever get to the place where I'm like too confident, I'm done because that means I'm not trying to get better. Mm-hmm. If I'm so cocky that I think I got this thing wrapped up, I'm not trying to improve myself. I'm not trying to improve my talents. I'm not trying to improve my skills. I'm resting on my laurels. And the minute you rest on your laurels, somebody comes and passes you. Yeah. That's just the fact of life, man. Whether it's sports, whatever it is, you can't rest on you. When you're in a relationship, you should keep trying to get better. Not just, oh man, I'm married now. You should keep trying to get better, man. Both of you should be trying to get better. In business, you should always try to get better. Somebody said to me the other day, they said, you never have enough money. And I said, no, you do have enough money. You can be greedy, but you do get, we all want to
I'm trying to get the money.
But you can get to a point where you realize what you have is enough. Sure. Because it allows you to live above your basic needs and things. Yeah, you want other things. Like if you want a Tesla, you don't need a Tesla. You want a Tesla. If you want a 20-bedroom house and it's just you and 2 people, that's not a need. That's what you want.
Yeah.
But if you got enough to live in a 10-bedroom house, you okay. So I think but it's the way we think. But it's the way we think. But see, if you think a certain way, people around you people begin to realize that's how you think. People are like, you know what, Justin ain't gonna go for that. Chrissy, Devin ain't gonna go for that. I say this to my wife all the time. To Deb, I laugh because she don't put up with crap. I know guys who, They go out and buy a car. Don't tell like your wife ain't say anything. They quit their job. Your wife let you back in the house. I'm like, yo, who allows you to do this stuff that you're doing, man? Like they just do some crazy stuff. Oh man, we go on the boys trip. How do you, and so I laugh. I don't like it all the time, but I know your mom's gonna keep me in check, and it helped me become who I am. Versus the person that sits there and says, you can do whatever you want. No, that's not healthy. And that's not helping me none, because the real world ain't gonna do that. I can't go to my boss and tell him, and give him some crap. So you need people around that's going to challenge you. You need people in your life, man, that's going to keep you on the right course. It's not always going to be easy, but those people will begin to realize how you think. So I know Justin ain't going. I know my wife. If somebody came to me and say something crazy, you'll go home and tell your wife, no, you crazy, because I already know what her response is going to be. So you begin to realize how people think, and you begin to craft your responses, the way you talk to them, the way you act. I've gotten very good at reading the room. When I go into a room, I'm hanging out for a couple minutes and I'm talking to people, and I've gotten pretty good at figuring out, you know what, I can ask for this amount of money. I know in this room I can't go and ask for $450, but I can get halfway point. I can negotiate with this person. This person I ain't gonna negotiate. You begin to figure it out, and then people begin to realize who you think. So when they realize that, they don't like ain't nobody call me up and saying, "Yo, Chris, can you do this for free?" Because they know.
Yeah.
They know. Now, if they approach me, we got a relationship, I still do stuff for free. But where before, people blowing me up and check, yo, man, can you come down, look at up? They weren't talking no money. Yo, I got some kids, man. You come down, you can all day long from 9 to 5, man. They wouldn't even buy me an orange juice. I got to bring my own water. So now, ain't nobody calling me with that foolishness now. Now, people who know me say, yo, can you come and I'll take care of it. But they ain't going to come and ask me to stay for 8 hours. Because I got 2 bad habits. I like eating and living indoors, and they both cost money. I said that in the meeting today. So they would understand, yo, I ain't doing this for free. I was in the meetings with people in school, yo, I'm not doing this for free.
You like to eat?
So you, because you got to know if you don't know your worth, you can't say stuff like that.
Yeah.
True.
If you don't know your worth, Justin, you be doing stand-up comedy at Ronald McDonald House forever.
Fried chicken.
At Ronald McDonald House forever.
Well, that's true.
You will, because you don't know, because they're dictating you. Because nobody who wants your services and likes your service, they're never going to tell you what you're worth, because now I got to pay that.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right about that.
And I'm creating competition for myself now, because I'm building you up, and now you out here doing your thing. Now, I can't get you for a bucket of chicken anymore. I got to throw in some fries and stuff because you collecting from other places.
Right.
So I think we got to teach our kids. But we also got to lead by example. You can't be.
I think I want you to negotiate the rest of my comedy contracts. I got a split.
Yeah,
I just think
150 to 450 is a good range for me.
Because you know what, and somebody say, well, man, how did you determine your worth? You know what? First of all, it takes a certain level of creativity to keep coming up with new stuff. I just don't sit down and come up with new workshops. That takes time. You know what? And time is money. Second of all, I got to keep developing this, because I can't do the same exact thing. I got to that takes time. I could be doing something else. If I had an hourly wage, you'd be paying me for that.
Yeah.
You'd be paying me. You hired me, Justin, and you pay me by the hour, I come steal the trash can for 6 hours. You paying me for that. So you're going to pay me for my time.
But that sounds like mentality in a lot of ways. Like you just know
what it is a mentality. Well, you learn what you work.
Go get this.
How much it takes you time to come up with your comedy routine.
Oh, no,
you just don't wake up in the morning.
Every time you listen to this episode.
So you got to practice it. You got to hone your skills. And you're the one taking the risk. So that's valuable that you taking a risk, because every time you go out there, your reputation is on the line. Yeah. That cost.
Yeah.
That's a cost.
Yeah. Right.
We are over time.
Yeah, we will over.
OT. But it was.
And since Chris cracked on Facebook, they must have shut us off, man. It's been stuck on live since he made his crack. So
they don't want this positive.
I don't do Facebook. Why you just this Facebook in front of everybody, man? Like, yo.
I mean,
only old people use Facebook.
No, that's where it started for all of us.
That's what I got on YouTube.
It's evolved over the years.
I got on YouTube. So
listen, Instagram is like the new Facebook for old people.
But closing,
and now it's TikTok.
Closing thoughts, man. And everybody can go. I know we got to get out of here, but I think my closing thoughts is I think it's important, man. That one, that we learn to see the value in ourselves. I think two, that we got to pass it on. We got to be willing, man, to bring somebody along with us, man. Like what y'all do for each other, everybody should be doing that. Everybody should have at least one person they're bringing on their journey with them, man. Because that's how you create generational self-confidence. because now you're going to talk to your kids, and I think three, and I do. I think couples should have this discussion all the time, man, about value. About value, man, because I think sometimes in relationships, people begin to take each other for granted because they don't see the value in the other person, and a lot of times because of what else they see. What else they see. Because I see something on TV, because that stuff does weigh on you, man. That Real Housewives, all that crap you be watching, man. that stuff weighs on you, man. And so I think those three things are very important, man.
And I feel like maybe even tying into what you said or just kind of finished on, like what we take in is very influential in how we think in terms of your positive thoughts or negative thoughts. Like I know an example that we brought up tonight is just kind of around relationships. Sometimes like you see certain things online, and in a way, like just even subconsciously, you start projecting things that aren't even necessarily reality in a lot of times. And I think it's so easy to succumb to watching the negative content, like you said, whether that's Desperate Housewives or just people doing silly stuff online. But I think to kind of counteract, negative thoughts, you might just have to unplug from this stuff. Like take some time away and like kind of live and be in your thoughts. Like read a book. Just kind of listen to music, but different types of music. Maybe like something that isn't spewing negativity. I think we got to recalibrate, take a step back, unplug from the world, and like kind of reset your mind and start thinking differently. Because I think we see it a lot nowadays. Like people are losing their minds, man. A lot more people are depressed. And I think a lot of the times is because they're just constantly on the screen, looking at things, comparing themselves to people that are portraying this fake lifestyle online. So it's just, I think we touched on or talked about it a lot today, but I did want to just kind of share those nuggets. Like, if you're having those negative thoughts, like you may need to start looking for different things to do, like adjust and readjust your lifestyle.
Yeah, and on top of that, like Dad said, surround yourself with the right people who are trying to accomplish or go the same places you're trying to go. If you got friends who are thinking negatively as well too, then it's just a sinking ship. But if you got people who are in your corner who like they want to get rid of these negative thoughts with you, they want to strive for greatness. Surround yourself with those people, make those people your circle, and just strive for greatness.
LeBron James.
Shout out LeBron James.
When Dad started talking, he said, when Dad said, I thought you were going to say like, share, subscribe. Wow, this guy's consistent. I thought
we're going to wrap up with
that. No. Actually, you took mine because obviously I ain't seen you fellas in a while. I've been on the show. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad I got a home here. That's part of the reason I always come back, because y'all do remind me of who I am, right? But this is what'll be my nugget. You got to know who you are when you're by yourself. And if you got to look in your mirror every day and say, I'm the man, I'm great, I'm the best, I'm going to make it, it's going to win, you start instinctually, you're going to start saying them things when you're not even thinking about that. And those are things you need to be telling yourself. Yeah. Or the woman, if for our female people, you say, I'm that. So don't say I'm that I'm that B either. I don't like that.
So real quick as we wrap up, we got some important dates coming up. March 9th and 10th, we'll be on the E9, the King Summit. We're going to be doing some live stuff. We're going to be doing some record. We're going to be doing some recording down there. Chris and Justin and some other people will play in the 3-on-3 tournament. But March 15th, I'm really excited about, because we're going to be live from Cheltenham High School. We're going to be live, so you got to join us if you can, man. I know you're having thing, guys. But you got to. But we're gonna be live, man, from the high school.
That's dope.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. So you got to join us. You got to join us. You got to join us, man. We trying to get as many. Yeah. So
promoting that on the page.
Yeah, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna start kicking out there, man. So we'll have fun, man.
Live audience.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So he getting some new material now. Look at him.
I'm gonna bring my ghost.
Ghost in the house. That's what I'm saying.
Ghost in the house.
Yeah, when Chris was playing, they said, toast the ghost. So I want to start hitting them chants again. But anyway, thank you, man. Another great episode of Above Average Black Men. Go ahead, Devin.
Subscribe, share, comment, interact with us.
Yes. Look at that. Great episode, fellas. Good episode. Take care, everybody.
Drink more water.